Hey, John and Mike, brew-juice.com. Got 3 samples in front of me, sir. What are we doing this evening?
Well, this is a homebrew exchange. It's from a guy named...
These exchanges are getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, they are. People just want to keep sending us beer. Not saying that's a bad thing. It's just they're sending us more and more beer per package. This is from a guy named Ryan in New Hampshire. And this is a little bit different than our typical homebrew exchange. Ryan's got some issues when he bottles his beers. He's been running into this recurring cidery taste and aroma to his beers. He feels like they taste good at bottling, but then after they're bottled and he opens them up and he starts enjoying them, this off flavor he detects it. It's in the beer. So he sent us 3 different beers for us to taste and try to get to the bottom of his process, like what might be causing the problem here in terms of that cidery apple flavor off flavor. So can everyone see this? Can everyone see this? I don't even know. I don't know. So we have 3 beers here. This is that had cap number 4 on it, and this is a Sierra Nevada clone from Northern Brewer. Is this Sierra Madre?
Sierra Madre.
Yeah, so this is
there you go, people.
That, so it should be a pale ale. And then number 5, this is an Irish Red from a Northern Brewer as well. And then the last one, this is Northern Brewer's Zombie Dirt IPA. So we have an IPA, an Irish Red, and an American Pale Ale clone. And as we open these up, I can tell you that there was a burst of spritzy CO2 coming out of the bottle.
No gushers.
No gushers, but you pour it in, and there's a bit of a head, and that just goes away very quickly.
There's no foam retention on these.
And then this, as Mike said, as he was looking at it, it has kind of the consistency of or the look of Coca-Cola. The bubbles that are coming up are very small, and they're coming to the surface at a very
dance on the surface.
Rapid pace. Yep. So it's a very cola-looking beer. And then this one actually has a little bit of lacing as you look at it. It's a bit hazy, but with an IPA, I would expect that to be a part of the appearance. But I think it's the most promising of the 3 that he sent us. So I think if we taste these and try to, I think one of the questions is, are you guys tasting the same thing I'm tasting? That number 1. And then number 2, let's talk about, there's more information that he gave us in terms of what he does at bottling. And, we'd love to open it up to the entire YouTube audience to see what you guys think too. Like if you guys have run into issues like this in your brewing career, maybe we can give Ryan some tips on how to solve the issue. So with that, I'm going to start tasting. If you could give me and the audience your notes on what you're perceiving here.
Okay.
That'd be great.
First things first, Ryan, this is all going to be constructive criticism, all right? Mano y mano. It's going to be good. Let's try to figure it out. And after this video, we can always correspond via the normal channels too, and you can let us know what you think about what we said. First of all, I've tasted all of them. I haven't really dug into all of them, but I've tasted them all. I'm surprised actually with the amount of carbonation coming out of them. They don't seem as thin and as dry as I thought they were going to be. But that might be they're all extract based, so there's some residual body from the extract holding them up. So that's good. I was really expecting it to be super thin and super dry. I don't get anything on any of these that is what I would call medicinal.
No.
Meaning something that's like a contaminant. Some sort of wild yeast or bacteria, something in there that's driving it out. If that was the case, I would have expected maybe to get a gusher.
Right.
Despite the high level of carbonation.
And we didn't.
So for now, I'm going to assume it's a high level of carbonation. It might have something to do with the carbonation drops, maybe the amount of them, versus the amount of beer that the carbonation drop's going into.
So we were getting ahead of, or with like
we were getting a little ahead. Yeah.
Yep. A part of his bottling process. He's not using priming sugar. He's actually using carb drops. So I don't see how many he's using per bottle.
Yep.
But he is using carb drops for bottle conditioning.
So, but because it's not, I mean, just drinking it, it's not overly spritzy though.
No,
It's not like super
no.
carbonated. But there's no head retention whatsoever in the beers, and there's just this fine cascade of thin bubbles coming up.
Yeah.
So let me just stick with the first one, the Sierra Madre.
Yep.
Interestingly, on this one, I get an aroma of soap, of like a dishwasher detergent
Yeah.
soap. So I would have to wonder if maybe the bottles are being done in the dishwasher, sanitized in the dishwasher. Some people report having luck with that. I've never tried it, but there's a lot of residual detergent in your dishwasher from the last run that may or not be getting rinsed off and into the bottles, and that stuff's hard to cut through. That may also explain zero head retention, right? Is it some sort of detergent?
True.
Or whatever you're using for a cleaner then in the bottles.
Yeah.
So one thing John and I noted in the presence of the bottles themselves is that, like, this Sierra Nevada bottle doesn't, the label for when we clean bottles, we usually soak them in hot PBW
A solution of PBW.
or some sort of cleaning solution,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And most labels will show some ill effects towards getting wet in a hot cleaning solution. This bottle doesn't appear to have any effect from a.
No, it looks like it was rinsed
Just
out
wondering
and then filled.
how.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering about the cleaning of the bottle and the sanitizing of the bottle that would lead to this.
Yep.
The second beer, the Irish Red,
That's the bottle that came in too.
has some of the same aromas, but it's not as soapy. But there's a really, it's actually just like pretzels, like a pretzel aroma, which is kind of interesting, but it doesn't hold up to like a malty Irish Red thing.
No.
And that might just be the kit more so it is your brewing of it. This one has a nice floral aroma.
Yeah. I think
IPA's got a nice floral aroma.
Yeah, this is the best.
I think the only reason why this one still has a little bit of carbonation retaining at the surface when it, is because there's probably extra hop oils in there, which is a foam positive thing.
Good.
Okay, so where do we want to go from here? I mean,
I would say, what are some things he needs to try differently?
so I think
in his
so.
next brews?
One thing I think right off the bat is I look at these are all 1 gallon batch kits. I think that I don't know how much experience you have, Ryan, but I think that a 1 gallon process is sort of difficult to manage oxygen exposure in. If you're not really comfortable, regular, like when you transfer 5 gallons of wort or 5 gallons of beer, it's getting exposed to a certain amount of oxygen. But the 1 gallon of beer is getting exposed to the same amount of oxygen, but at a rate that's 5 times greater because it's a fifth less beer, right? So I wonder if that is, you make some mention that you wonder if it is oxidation. I don't get like cidery.
No, or like a sherry cardboard taste
Yeah.
that you're supposed to get from oxygen.
To me, that cidery thing, there's like a sweetness thing here. It could be the extract, but I think it could have something to do with the bottling. I think it has to do with the cleaning of the bottles or
Yeah.
whatever you're using as a cleaner. There's no mention here what the cleaner
I think in the
sanitizer.
correspondence I had with him over the past couple of months.
Yep.
I mean, he talked about that he feels like he did a good job cleaning and sanitizing bottles, but it's almost as if I know that this is a great economic practice of reusing bottles, but when I do it, I make sure that I clean them very, very, very well. Like I rinse them out, but then I soak them. I get some PBW and mix it in, enough that I can actually immerse these bottles in at a warm, I'm making that solution as hot as comes out of my utility sink in my basement. And I put that in a big bucket and I just let them soak overnight. And
overnight all the time.
Yeah,
for me.
what tends to happen is, a deep clean on the inside, but also, all these labels will come off and I feel like I've done my job getting a great clean on that. And then I rinse them out and then I sanitize them in kind of the same procedure where I'm making a sanitizing solution and then immersing the bottles in that sanitizer. And one thing you could do is buy, new bottles, ones that haven't been used before.
I was going to say, for a 1 gallon batch, a quick way to test this would be go get the Sierra Madre kit again. And go, I mean, when you do 1 gallon batches, what do you get, like 8 bottles out of it?
Yeah, I think that's the most. I usually get a 6-pack,
It'd be cost effective to just get 8 brand new bottles, wash and sanitize them as you're used to, but at least they're clean, but wash them yourself and then sanitize them and see if you get the same effect, because maybe it is the old bottles. Like, I know that the Harpoon bottle shows some signs of having been rinsed, but I also noticed the date on that bottle is 2014. Right, so that bottle's been in the cycle a few times, I think. Maybe. Right, through the cycle. So, of course, we're making a ton of assumptions here.
Sure.
But just trying to spitball ideas,
yeah,
right?
Especially if there's anybody watching it who, like, has made beer where they're very spritzy but don't hold a good head at all. We wonder to see, like, okay, well, I had that issue, then I did, X, and that solved the issue.
There's kind of a fullness to it. So one other thing that I would propose, these being extract beers, is that some of this could be the flavor quality, because there's a dullness to the beers.
Yeah.
Like, they don't taste bad, but there's a bit of a dullness to it. I almost wonder if your water, I don't know what water you're using. Maybe you're using distilled water. When you're doing extract beers, especially doing a 1 gallon extract beer, distilled water is the way to go. Yeah. Because the extract has minerals in it. So
that's right.
If you live in a part of the country where
New Hampshire, he lives in New Hampshire. Yeah.
So if you have some excessively hard water, you could be doubling, tripling, or more the mineral content in the beer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
What about the carb drops? I mean, you think that could be an issue?
I think it could be. The one thing with carb drops that have always sort of blown my mind is how you get them out of the package into the bottle. Like, I would personally wear, like, gloves, right? Because you've got oils on your hands, or if you've got bacteria on your hands just from picking up the package. I mean, handling the bottles or whatever. I mean, I used to brew mostly in my garage, so, I would always thought that unless you're able to tap them out one at a time from the container into the bottle, if you're handling them, you're introducing some contamination. But I don't think these beers taste contaminated.
No. It's something.
They're not aggressively carbonated.
No.
They seem thin, and I think it has to do with water.
Very spritzy, but then they kind of settle once they are out of the bottle for a while. I mean, now what we were seeing before, a very cola-like appearance, those bubbles are gone, and now you're kind of left with this.
There just isn't a lot of carbonation left.
Yeah.
I think that there's a cleaning sanitation issue going on, and then potentially a little bit of that. Because it's a 1 gallon batch, it's like, I know in the first beer you transferred to a 1 gallon fermenter on bottling day. If you're moving 1 gallon around more than it needs to, oxygen. You got the potential to pick up more oxygen. Yeah. But it doesn't taste super oxidized to me.
No. All right. Well, I think we've done as much as we can to diagnose the issue. Certainly, if you have seen this issue before, please comment below. Ryan, I hope we did some help, but I think that with some practices of just cleaning bottles and try that for sure. I mean, I think that it seems like your issue is after bottling, like after it's carbonating in the bottle, and then this is what you're getting out of it. I think that's the vessel, and if you can really take time to make sure that they are clean. Like if you buy new bottles, you can sanitize them, and I would just leave them overnight in a sanitizing solution just to be safe.
And just for the record, we recommend, we're big fans of PBW for cleaning, and Star San for sanitizing. And I adamantly am opposed to any product that's called One Step. Don't use that.
Yeah, no One Step. It's not a One Step. So, all right.
But leave a comment below.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hit us up on the other. You've already emailed John a couple times, so after you see this,
let us know.
Let's talk more.
Yeah, and then maybe if it works out, send us another bottle and we can taste that, and we'll bring order back to the force or something. All right, for John and Mike, brew-dudes.com. Brew on.
Cheers.
Cheers.